There is a story that has been covered on BBC, and this story was posted some 13 hours ago, and it features an incident that occurred in Europe. And according to the BBC, the Spanish church sexual abuse affected 200,000 children, commission fines. Now, what attracted me to this story is the issue of church and the connection to sexual abuse. According to Catherine Armstrong, who is the publisher of this story, investigations by Spain's ombudsman, who was ordered by Spain's Congress last year to investigate the sexual abuse incidences in the continent and in the country, found that 0.6% of the country's adult population, which is roughly 39 million people, said that they had suffered sexual abuse as children by members of the clergy. Now, according to the same report, that percentage rose to 1.13%, representing more than 400,000 people, when including alleged abuse by lay people in institutions overseen by the church. Now, this report goes ahead and says that the report also included statements from more than 487 people who suffered abuse, who stressed the emotional toll it had taken. When you read further into this statement, the official inquiry into child sex abuse in Spain's Catholic Church followed an investigation by the El País newspaper, which began in 2018 and has since created a database of more than 1,000 alleged cases of abuse. Now, this report detailing the sexual abuse of Spanish children by the members of the clergy makes me to question to some extent the authenticity of the church and the role of the church in the present community or the present society. Biblically, we know that the church is an institution needed to instill morals in society. The church is the foundation of peace and morality in society, and the church is the institution that should protect children. Now, here comes a case when the church in Spain has turned to sexual abuse. The church in Spain is now indicted for sexual abuse of minors. I tend to question the kind of churches that we have today. I tend to question the morality of the clergymen, the morality of the clergy in the present church. If the church has turned to sexual abuse, if the church is now promoting sexual abuse of children, then we as humans, as lay people, let me say so, how safe are we? If the church, which I have said should be the foundation of morality, should guide the values and the principles that God requires his people to have, has turned to sexually abuse children. And when you read this report, you will find that some members of the clergy, died by some members of the general population, the victims of sexual abuse by these clergymen died by suicide. And senior members of the clergy did not cooperate with the commission, and to some extent they were trying to conceal this information from leaking to the public. I want to say that currently, with the things that are happening in the modern world, and most importantly those involving members of the cloth, makes me to have a very negative view of religion. It makes me to have a strong negative view of pastors and ministers that we have today. It makes me to question the kind of teachings that the church gives the present society. I believe that if it is a matter of morality, if it is a matter of the required values, if it is a matter of the required principles, then the church is best placed to instill these requirements to the people. And now it turns that we are not safe. People, and especially children and women, are not safe in the presence of the members of the cloth. If members of the cloth, who call themselves pastors, who call themselves ministers, who call themselves members of the clergy, are now targeting children and women to sexually abuse them, then what can we say about the end times, eschatology? You know, when you practically read the Bible as a Christian, when I practically read the Bible, I glimpse some ideas about eschatology. One of the citations in the Holy Book, and one of the citations which is emphasized in the modern churches today, is about, when you talk about eschatology, that is the end times. And they always say that the members of the cloth should guide the people towards morality. The members of the cloth should guide the people in preparation for the second coming of the Messiah. And in the same citations, they talk about false prophets. And they say that these false prophets will come during the end times. I believe that with the happenings, with the events currently seen in the Catholic Church, with the events currently witnessed in various churches, I must say that maybe we are closer to fulfilling the expressions of eschatology. But I believe that these clergymen, these members of the cloth, should be called out. They should be made accountable for their sins. The church should not be an institution where individuals who abuse children or women reside. The church should not be connected to child abuse or sexual abuse of women. The church should be clean. And that is why I did a discussion on this platform, saying that as Africans and as global citizens, we should be very careful when consuming technology and religion. I said that Africans are more religious than the real owners of religion. Africans are more religious than the founders of Christianity. And Africans today have commercialized religion. I want to say that pastors in Africa have commercialized religion. And now I see that in Europe, religion is now used as a platform to sexually abuse children and sexually abuse women. These are not the dictates of God. And these are not the dictates of Allah for Muslims. God would not want the people who call themselves members of the cloth to abuse children sexually. And God would not want members of the cloth to abuse women sexually. The members of the clergy, members of the cloth should be clean. They should give practical and good examples to the people. They should promote deeds that can be easily emulated. Now, when I talk about the sexual abuse of children by pastors and other members of the clergy in Europe and in Spain to be particular, this might communicate what is happening in the Catholic Church worldwide. And this might taint the name of Catholic Church in a negative image. I want to emphasize that we as Africans and we as global citizens, we must be very careful when consuming religion. When consuming religion, there is one thing that you must focus on. Don't focus on what people tell you, but focus on what the Holy Book says. I always say that for me, I believe in God because I read the Bible. And I believe that Muslims believe in Allah because they read the Quran. And the Quran and the Bible are the final instructions from our supernatural beings, God and Allah. The pastors, the ministers, and other members of the clergy will tell you their own perspectives of the Bible, and sometimes they do lie. And at this point, I do not believe that these people who are involved in the sexual abuse of children in Spain should be allowed to further engage the public, the congregation, in understanding the word of the Holy Word. I want to strongly criticize what is happening in the modern churches today. And I want to encourage Christians, and I want to encourage all other believers that if they really want to know what God says, what Allah says, and what other supernatural being says, then they should rely on the holy books.